This is Why Am I a Mets Fan? A podcast hosted by Samantha Croston and Ashley Wenskoski.
What's up, everyone? Welcome into another edition of the Why Am I a Mets Fan podcast, and I got news for you. We're talking about some Metsy type things today.
We're back.
If you're a Mets fan, welcome back into the Why Am I a Mets Fan podcast.
We're back.
That's Ashley Wenskoski. I'm Samantha Croston, and we are two sports reporters based in Syracuse. Happy Friday, Ashley. How are we feeling?
Good. We're back. We have a lot to discuss. We've sort of neglected some of our Mets bits and bops,
They neglected
off-season
us.
stuff. Well, yeah, the Mets did disappoint us and break our hearts for the 9,000th year in a row. But anyway, back to the Mets. If you know, you know. But we also have some Dodgers wrap-up stuff to sort of finish because you guys were so engaged and so many comments on our last episode that we have some further thoughts on Freddie Freeman, on a couple of things Dodgers-wise.
You guys rule, and the
really
comments that you left were so engaging, so interesting, and we love that you wanted to be a part of the debate about where Freeman would go in and what ball cap he would wear in the Hall of Fame. What comments interested you the most? What intrigued you about the kind of things that people were saying?
All right. I know that our audience at the moment is primarily Dodger-based.
You know.
So let's just get that bias out of the way. But overwhelmingly, you guys said, which I was really interested in the feedback, honestly, from that, what people think. Will Freddie Freeman go into the Hall of Fame wearing a Dodgers hat or Braves hat? There was a lot there that I think was really interesting, right? That obviously we did know from the Mets and the NL East, he didn't leave the Braves on the best terms, right? That was sort of a situation where, not that they didn't want him back, but things got conflictual with his exit from Atlanta. And when he was becoming a Dodger, signing his deal, the whole thing, he basically said to his agent, get me home, get me back to Southern California, because that is where he's from. His kids are growing up Dodger fans. So you all brought that to light in the comments, sort of just how much, I guess, Southern California means to him. And so seeing that, I think that if Freddie has his way, he will probably pick to go in as a Dodger, even though it's been a shorter time frame that he has been there. An interesting debate nonetheless. People had some really cool ideas. People were like, what if you did LA, but put the Dodger L and the A would be the Braves script.
Oh my
Nobody's
God.
ever done that before, split. I doubt that would happen, but great idea to those of you that said that.
Okay, Mayor Eric Adams.
Literally. But yeah, it was just a cool discussion in our comments about Freddie Freeman's future in Cooperstown.
Remember that hat? Sorry. One time Eric Adams, the mayor of New York City, tried to say that he was both a Yankees and a Mets fan. It went over so poorly in New York City. I just can't even tell you.
And you know what? That's why he's not the mayor of New York City anymore. And I'll just leave it at that.
I'll just leave it at that.
That and a lot of other things.
Yep. No, I thought that was really interesting as well. And I mean, listen, he seems like such a SoCal guy to me. I just have to say that. I'm not surprised to hear that. And you're the one who mentioned if Freddie does, I'm saying Freddie like I know him and we're friends.
Our good friend Freddie.
Our good friend Freddie. If Freddie Freeman.
He's from Fountain Valley, California.
Okay.
Orange County.
Is able to pick in some way, or his opinion matters, I certainly think that he is going to say that he would want to go in as a Dodger based on all the things that he's accomplished during that time. So if that matters at all, then I think there is a high likelihood that you would see him go in with a Dodger cap on. So I guess we'll see if that happens or not. In any case, we really appreciated you guys commenting on it, and it really helps us out. So be sure to like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe, because it really helps us out when you do that.
Another cool comment, this is just one I have that I highlighted. David Pineda, 1864. He said, as a lifelong diehard Dodgers fan, I just want to say the fact that your beloved Mets are the only team that is allowed to don Pantone 294, aka Dodger Blue, that's a specific color, on their uniforms is pretty great. I think the Mets fans are the best fan base other than the Dodgers. You could actually say the Mets are my second favorite team. We've talked about that for a while, how our connection with Dodgers fans is actually kind of spooky and kind of eerie when you consider the fact that the Mets were born out of the Dodgers leaving New York. But I would just like to say, can anybody confirm or deny, I thought that Dodger Blue is a different shade of blue. The Mets is more of a royal blue, is it not? Dodgers is more like navy, at least in my eyes.
I don't know.
I don't know if it's the same specific shade on the uniforms, and I'd like to find out. I know it pays homage to the Dodgers, the Mets blue, and they took the orange from the Giants. But I'd like to know if it's the same shade.
Interesting.
This is what interests me.
You're a nerd.
I really am.
No, I honestly have no idea, but I think that that's interesting, and I'm sure that someone in the comments can provide that answer.
Let me know.
Here's the other thing. I'm not sure if we have this person's name or not, because I think it would be good to have.
Yeah.
But collectively, Ashley and I thought that one of the most interesting comments that we saw from this week, so if this is you, thank you, was someone who asked, what can the Mets take from the Dodgers run? So interesting, food for thought, really had the wheels turning in both of our minds, thinking about, what we thought they could take there. Because again, we've talked multiple times on this podcast about how clearly as Mets fans, we see the gravity of how hard it is to even win one World Series, to make it 162 games and beyond into the playoffs. But to do it twice, it's like the Dodgers made it look easy. So I think that there are some really interesting discussions we can have surrounding that question.
Well, I think obviously the first glaring red light there is the starting pitching, right? The Mets fell apart this year down the stretch because they simply did not have the starting pitching to compete with the Dodgers or honestly anybody else. The Mets fell apart in the second half. They couldn't even beat good teams, let alone playoff World Series champion caliber teams. The Dodgers were so deep with that starting pitching. That's ultimately what won it for them. I think, even seeing a guy like Yamamoto, who is a starter, be able to come in and flex and give you long relief. Obviously, that was kind of an outlier when you're looking at that. But the Dodgers headed into the postseason, a 7-game series, a 5-game series, so dangerous because you had Snell, Yamamoto, Glasnow, and then Ohtani. Like, you had 4 deep starting, like 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D almost, which is so difficult to replicate. I'm not sure I can sit here and say that the Mets or anyone can ever replicate that or can strive to, having 4 ace caliber guys.
Yeah.
But the message is clear that you need deeper starting pitching that the Mets just did not have this year.
Well, this is kind of what it made me think about was, I think there have been times that we've sat down at this table, as we sometimes do, and discussed, when David Stearns had a great deal or got a guy for a great price. But it had me thinking, if the Mets have one of the biggest payrolls in baseball, and so do the Dodgers, why are the Dodgers living large, spending lavishly, and the Mets are trying to grab every deal and steal that they can find? A part of me felt like perhaps the Mets should just be spending more, taking bigger chances, going for bigger fish if they can. It's not like there's a guy who's asking us this question in the comments and we're the Brewers and we have to try and figure out how to get the money together. Like, if the Mets have all this money to spend and their owner is a billionaire, perhaps we should be doing that. Perhaps we should be making bigger deals at the trade deadline and whatever it is. Like, I know that there's a lot more that goes into that. It takes 2 to tango. But perhaps we should continue to do things like the Juan Soto signing, because you obviously see the result of that now. I get it. It didn't pay off as far as the playoffs are concerned, but he was a gigantic part of their success this year. Perhaps spend the money, because I feel like already there were some missed opportunities, even when I think about like a guy like Garrett Crochet or whoever. It's like, that could have been a Mets guy realistically. And I think sometimes they didn't chase some of these guys hard enough. Whereas the Dodgers unapologetically go for it and normally succeed in doing that, right?
Also, I think that, yes, I agree with you that I think Mets fans are sort of getting sick of, correct me if you don't feel this way and you're a Mets fan, but I think overwhelmingly Mets fans do. Steve Cohen promised a World Series in 5 years. If you're interested in those types of things, when he bought the Mets, 5 years, that anniversary was a couple days ago. So
Stop that.
Hasn't happened.
Stop that.
I'm so sorry. But
oh God,
I think I speak for all Mets fans when I say that David Stearns has done some good things. There have been signings. There have been, I mean, you can't really attribute the homegrown talent that's now becoming successful to David Stearns because that wasn't under his reign. But there have been some positive things under David Stearns, the pitching lab, whatever. But I think people are getting a little sick of the whole like small market thing. Nobody's saying the Mets don't have one of the highest payrolls in baseball, but David Stearns, I think, likes to get crafty at times that he shouldn't, right? This trade deadline, for example, yes, you made some big moves for the bullpen, but you had a glaring starting pitching problem and you didn't address it. Whether that's for payroll, whether that's because you genuinely thought the guys in the farm system were going to come through and save the season. I don't know. That seems like a terrible plan, and it was. For whatever it's worth, David Stearns still has that moniker, right? He came from the Brewers, small market, mini market Stearns. I think that you have to stop operating that way if you're ever going to get to where you want to get to, right? I know the payroll is one of the highest in baseball. I'm aware of that. But it almost seems like he just doesn't allocate his resources in the places that he should, right? Yes, you signed Juan Soto, you bit the bullet for that. Okay, are you going to bring back Pete Alonso? Do you really have a better option than Pete Alonso? As Keith Hernandez said, where are you getting 125 RBI next season?
Are you going to let Pete Alonso walk and go to the Yankees? Because that's what people are predicting. Like, grow up. Also,
Get a grip.
Get a grip.
Missed that one.
But miss her.
That was a good one.
But honestly, it's actually really interesting that you bring that up, because just now I even said, I'm like, it's not like we're talking about the Brewers and you have to figure out a way to find the money. But I forgot.
You have the money.
But like David Stearns is in a Brewers mindset on a Mets team.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like, I sincerely feel like it's one of those things. It's like that like poor mentality. It's like, well, he didn't have the money, so now he's like rich and he doesn't know what to do with it. It's like, you can break outside of that mentality. There's money that can be utilized here and it is okay to spend. I think he feels nervous about making a bad deal. So he likes to play it a little bit on the safer side, a little bit more conservative. I want you to think like a Dodger.
I agree.
I want you to go for it. Whatever it is, let's take a chance. Let's take a risk. It might not always pay off, but I think that if you're in New York, people like to see you have some guts, man. Have some guts here. It's New York City.
Conservative Stearns is one that I'm ready to let go of. I need him to, and now he's getting into, his third year in this role, third year. I'm ready for him to start thinking. Joke.
Kidding.
Joke.
That was a joke.
I'm ready for him to start pushing the envelope a little bit. But yeah, I think that, the Dodgers, obviously the pitching is the glaring thing, and depth at pitching, right? I don't think anybody could have predicted that the Dodgers, that those four got hot right at playoff time. They had a few things that all came together to make this run successful once again in 2025. But yeah, if you're the Mets, you need more depth, you need more starting pitching, you need to prioritize that. I mean, defense, I think hitting with runners in scoring position, there's a whole cast of things that didn't go right for the Mets this year, but I do think that you can look at the Dodgers, what they've been able to do, also with international talent, I might say, all of their players from Japan, foreign scouting, all of that.
About that.
And you can take a page out of that book.
100%, no doubt about it. There are some things that did go right for the Mets, though, which leads us to our next segment that we wanted to discuss. Some awards were given out. Francisco Lindor, a Met who was up for a Silver Slugger, did not win. However, Juan Soto and Pete Alonso, of all people, ended up winning Silver Slugger awards. For Alonso, he is taking home his first one following a 2025 season that saw him belt 38 home runs while slashing 272, 347, 524. He also became the Mets' all-time home run leader, passing Darryl Strawberry. For Alonso, I think that obviously maybe we just take a beat on that as he heads into free agency. Mm-hmm. You have to think that that's a nice thing that he could add to his resume, and it's going to make it harder for the Mets potentially to get him or commit, and there are going to be some other teams who are really, really interested in him.
Yeah, I mean, the Alonso debate is one that we will get into extensively in another episode. We're just going to kind of touch on it right now. But the Silver Slugger, first of his career, he needed to have a huge season in 2025 for the contract that he desires, right? We knew heading into free agency last year in 2024, he didn't. So he put a kind of Band-Aid deal on it with the opt-outs with the Mets. And now he's really looking for that big career-defining deal. I don't know what's going to happen there. There's been some debate and discussion. He did notably change his profile picture on social media to one of him in a Florida Gators jersey, which is where he played college baseball.
Drama.
He did not do that last time. Par for the course for a Boris client, I will say. They like to play games, the Boris clients, on socials and in interviews and whatever. But, I will just say, how old are we? Honestly. You've been on the Mets for, 7-8 years. What are we
doing,
Where are we
man?
out here? Pete, that was, 8 years ago. You're in a Florida Gators jersey. That's just not an accurate representation. You know when you see people on socials where you're like, that's not how you look right now.
I feel like a Swiftie.
Catfish.
Trying to determine what all of the signs mean. You know what I mean?
Pete, you're a grown man.
You're not Taylor Swift.
You
You're
just
Pete
had a
Alonso.
kid.
Take it easy, brother. Take it easy. Just keep your profile picture the same. We'll get through it together. You know what I'm saying?
Easy.
Beyond that, also Juan Soto got a Silver Slugger award, the 6th of his career. That's amazing. Despite somehow being snubbed from the NL All-Star team, he put up MVP caliber numbers during his first season in Queens, posting a .921 OPS and setting a new career best with 43 home runs. He is also one of 3 NL MVP finalists. We will discuss that in a moment. But again, Juan Soto, can't understate it. He had a great season. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough. They didn't win shit. But I really appreciate everything that he was able to do in his first season as a Met. And I feel very excited for the future of what he could bring to help this sorry-ass team be successful.
I wish we could cut back to like when they signed Alonso last offseason. And I wish we could splice it with you now in November 2025 being like, they didn't win shit, but it's all in the future.
I'm a future thinker.
I know.
I don't care about winning now. We can win later.
As you like to say, the best is yet to come. That's what we'd like to hope for the Mets. Anyway, yes, Soto, as you just said, now we can get into it. He's also a finalist for the NL MVP. If that's a down year for Juan Soto, if that's a down year for Juan, I remain interested in what's going to happen in the years to come. You know what I mean?
Yes, 100%.
3 finalists for the MVP. It's Ohtani, Kyle Schwarber, and Soto. Obviously, Ohtani's gonna win the award. Okay, I just like
we all know where this is
It's really not a
headed.
competition. It would be his 3rd straight. It would be his 4th in 5 years. Nobody in the NL is ever gonna win it again.
Wait, that's disgusting.
It's diabolical. He batted .282, 55 home runs, 20 stolen bases, 102 RBI. Obviously, also as a pitcher, he .287 ERA, 62 strikeouts in 47 innings over 14 starts. Anyways.
No one's ever going to win that award again.
No, until Shohei Ohtani retires, the roadblock to winning MVP in the National League is sizable.
It's crazy. And listen, he deserves it, but it's genuinely like, how can you compete if you are not pitching and hitting at the same time?
Well, right, 'cause
as
the
long as
two-way
he's doing
thing, yeah.
a really good job at both, which he always does, it's like going to be tough for anybody to compete.
Not to mention he still won it last year when he only hit.
Right. That's also a good point. He's also like really good at both of those things, even when he does them alone. In any case, yeah, we don't really think there's necessarily so much to debate or discuss there. We both believe that Ohtani is for sure going to win the NL MVP. But still, just to have Juan Soto included in that conversation, to me, is proof and signals that the New York Mets do, in fact, have a star.
Yes. I think to see Soto, be a finalist, he's going to lose to Ohtani, much like Lindor lost to Ohtani last year, or the Mets, the little brother of the Dodgers. It's the 3rd time Soto's an MVP finalist in his career. Obviously, Soto this year, 43 home runs, 38 stolen bases. We need to get into that more because Soto tripled his previous career high in steals. Decided to start running, which I love. 105 RBI, 120 runs, and a major league best 127 walks. He's not going to win it, but love to see Soto in a down year still be a finalist. And also, Kyle Schwarber is an intriguing character to the program right now. I wouldn't say friend of the program, but an intriguing character to keep your eye on. First time he's ever an MVP finalist. He obviously was 2nd in the NL, 56 home runs, he won more than Ohtani. So he had the most home runs in the NL, 56. And he led the majors with 132 RBI. And I'm just going to say it, if Pete takes a walk, who could be an intriguing signing for the New York Mets.
Come on over, man.
Walk on over. Philadelphia to New York, it's about an hour, not too far.
Pack your bags. Come on over.
Let's
It's
get it
still
going.
in the Northeast, man. No, I actually totally agree. I think he's someone who certainly would be intriguing, and that's what we're going to do here for the next few months, get into some of the offseason signings and whatnot.
Discuss and debate.
Sure. But discuss and debate. I like that. A little D&D.
Yeah.
In any case, anything else that you want to say on the Dodgers, the Mets, things that are going on right now in the baseball world?
I feel like we have to take 1 minute on the Mets staff exodus to the Atlanta Braves. It was a big topic on Mets Twitter this week.
Let's do it.
The Mets lost both. I believe it's
I'm just gonna drum roll until you find
Antone
it.
Richardson, their first base coach to the Braves.
That was messed up,
And
by the
also
way.
Jeremy Hefner, the pitching coach who was a big player in that whole Mets pitching lab situation. Hefner, in a way, makes sense. I think the Mets did need to move on pitching coach-wise after the debacle that happened last season, whether or not it was Hefner's fault. He was, as we've said many times, dealt a bad hand, but somebody has to be to blame for what happened there, right, with the Mets pitching. Also, he's from the Atlanta area. So him going home to Atlanta, I'm going to excuse that one. I'm going to wipe that one under the rug. The thing that was making everybody freak out on Mets Twitter, which... if you have nothing better to do than to freak out about the first base coach on Mets Twitter, I'm going to need you to go touch grass or something. But Antone Richardson was a guy that everybody loved on the Mets this year because he was a big contributing factor to what I just said before. Soto running more, the Mets running more in general, the Mets stealing more bases, Juan Soto chief among them. He now goes to the Braves because of a difference in opinion over his value.
Like, that's kind of shameful, to be honest. I understand that it's not the biggest thing, but like, why did you let him walk? Like, I really like that guy.
The quote was, I had a proposed salary with benefits. The Mets had a proposed salary with benefits. We differed on the salary part of it. And then it came to light by some of the New York beat reporters, Mike Puma, et cetera, that the Mets had 4 pensions available for like coaches, and he was not one of the 4. So that's why he went to Atlanta. I get it. It's a first base coach. But when you look at the positive value that he brought to the coaching staff in a year where not many of his peers did in 2025 for the Mets, I think the Mets did come up short with that one. I think to let a guy walk over a discrepancy that small that did have a huge mark and a huge improvement on one of your star players is an oversight.
Also, I'm going to say it, like, just give the guy a pension. Like
what do
add
you
one?
mean? I
don't know.
No,
I
think that's
of
like
all
the limit,
things
but
to like
still.
cheap out on, it just seems like kind of a weird one. But
Jolly
whatever.
Olive said, quote, how the F do you get outbid for an effing first base coach by your division rival, man? What the F? That's gonna Met, you know what I mean?
No, that actually is so fun. So funny. I mean, listen, the Braves obviously I feel like are less threatening than they once were. Not as popular as they used to be. I'm not
But they
thinking
still like
about
put me in
them
a
as
cold
much.
sweat. Like they're still the Braves.
I know.
I get nervous.
In a cold sweat. They still give me the night sweats. No, I understand. Honestly, they're a team that give you nightmares no matter how relevant or irrelevant they are. So I agree. I think that was a lame one. I think they should have done it differently, but whatever. We'll see what the future holds for the New York Mets in this season.
Last final bullet, which we'll get into at another time. Mets and Edwin Diaz and Pete Alonso both opted out, as we've been alluding to. You opt out the day after the World Series, so that did happen this week. I think one of our next coming episodes will be the whole Alonso debacle because we have a whole lot to say on that. We had a lot to say on that last offseason. We have a lot of feelings. Diaz opting out, I'm just going to say it right now. I would like Alonso to be back. I would like both of them to be back on the Mets. But Edwin Diaz looks a whole lot more urgent to me than Pete Alonso. If you're the Mets and you need to get one of those done, you need to get Edwin Diaz done. You don't just let one of the best closers in the game take a walk. And not only that, I've been seeing some outlets, Bleacher Report, ESPN, the like, be like, potential landing spots for Edwin Diaz. And it's like Dodgers. It's like Dodgers first. If Edwin Diaz goes to the Dodgers, I'm going to have a meltdown in this very chair.
She's going to have a crash out, and you don't want to see what that looks like when we get to that point. That is supposed to be for private spaces only, but it will become public. It will be an intimate experience for everybody who watches that.
We'll get into Diaz and Alonso shortly.
In any case, one other thing that I want to push ahead to, not going to say more than this, but just want you guys to be on the lookout for it. In one of these off-season episodes, coming sometime in the next, let's say, 2 to 6 weeks.
Coming to a theater near you.
The theater being 1030 James Street.
The theater being our
said
YouTube
that,
channel.
but that's where we work. So if you ever want to send us any gifts, 1030 James Street, Syracuse, New York. There's going to be someone who comes on to this podcast who is going to have some interesting things to say, a unique perspective, and her last name is a flower. Thanks so much. Enjoy and have a really great rest of your day. Be sure to like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe. We'll see you back here when the next big thing happens. Bye.
Bye.